moderator for the session, eminent panelists, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all. A post-lunch session is always a daunting task, and because attention span has its own limitations, I would like to keep it short and share with you a few reflections which I feel should be taken into account. Also in the morning we heard Rajesh Agarwal sir. So all that I would say is that after you hear an excellent speaker who has full mastery on the subject, the task for the others who follow becomes simpler because there is very little to add and very little to say. With that in mind, coming to the topic for this session, service delivery for the citizens has undergone a massive transformation and has evolved in a big way over the last 1 decade. And we see that the services that are being provided to citizens, it has broken new frontiers, reached new barriers, crossed new barriers, and rather has come out into a league of its own. I would like to begin by portraying two scenarios. Picture this, that you are preparing for a presentation and you think that you need to refer to a certain book. You use your computer or tablet or mobile phone and you place an order, ordering for a particular book, and lo and behold, within 30 to 60 minutes, the order reaches your doorstep. Whether you are at home, in a hotel, or maybe on a boat in the sea or something, the order does happen to reach you. So this is futuristic, but is it real? The answer to this would be yes. This is just a pictorial description of Amazon's Prime Air, which is their drone service, which is using an octocopter. They are delivering packages to the designated locations. So all that is being done over here is, for example, that the box is packaged, it is attached to the octocopter, and the octocopter is programmed to deliver the baggage or the parcel to the designated address using geographical coordinates. It reaches the destination concerned. So this is just an example of the drone, which is right now in the pilot stage being used by Amazon. Another scenario that I would ask you to reflect on would be that we go into a cafe or a restaurant and we use our tablet and we use a mobile device and we punch in our order. And after punching in our order, suddenly we find that magically the order pops up on our table. So we ordered burgers and french fries and suddenly the order magically is there on our table. So this is another example where this is actually happening in Christchurch in New Zealand, where in restaurants and cafes, when you order, the chef packs your order into a capsule, and by way of pneumatic tubes, the order reaches the designated location on the table. So these may sound like futuristic concepts, but what I was coming back to is that they are being implemented now. And we see that, for example, now this is like our burgers and french fries, and probably as we are talking now, these burgers and french fries will be reaching the tables of customers at the speed of 87 miles per hour through use of pneumatic tubes. So this is not related to CSCs, we're coming to the topic now. So that what we find here in these two instances are examples of the way human interface is getting reduced in a way that we see. The drones are being pilot tested in US, and probably by 2015, when the US government finalizes the regulations for commercial use of drones for delivery of these kind of packages, it would be implemented. And insofar as using less human interface is concerned, we come to a point that these two instances or scenarios are examples of the way that probably our setup or our tuning is becoming such like that we find that the public in general is being serviced by the private sector in a way which is efficient, in a way which is human-less interface. So these are examples in the private sector where the public is getting service and it is getting efficient service delivery without having any sort of human interface. In Chandigarh, we have a very unique setting. We have an urban setting, a primarily urban setting, and our demographics are such that we would be comparable with countries like Greece and Switzerland with regard to certain human development indices. So keeping that in view, the demographics of the place, I feel that the administration has felt a need, and there has been in fact a perceived need to cater to the requirements of people in a different sort of way, to cater to the requirements of people and to think futuristic. So with that, once we analyze the two service models in the private sector that were observed, we expect that there is a genuine expectation of the public that the interface should be, without any, the channels of service delivery should be free of human interface. Which brings us to a point that industry has recognized it today, that public has a need for, which is represented in the "we want it now" syndrome. Agarwal sir in the morning was referring to the fact that people don't want to stand in queues necessarily, they don't want to waste a whole day, and they want processes to be simplified, they want processes to be transparent, and they want a certain ease of use of the service, which is important. So keeping that in mind, the "we want it now" syndrome is sort of gaining currency, where everybody is short on time and would want effective service delivery, and probably at the doorstep or near around. In Chandigarh, we started with the concept of Samparks, which is akin to the common service centers, and the Samparks have evolved in a very need-based fashion. Need-based fashion in the sense because our Samparks are located probably at almost a distance of within a radius of 1 kilometer of the residence of the person. So initially we had around 28 Sampark centers, and now we have extended the Sampark centers by way of opening up of Sampark kiosks, which are extensions of the Sampark centers, but they are low-cost kiosks, fabricated structures which we have built to provide this convenience to the citizens at within a radius of 1 kilometer, as I said. Taking a cue from providing this humanless interface, Chandigarh administration, we released our IT and electronics policy in November 2013, and we factored this into account by including the fact that we would aim to provide service delivery to the citizens in a self-service mode. We would provide e-governance services to citizens in a self-service mode. Accordingly, what I foresee is that our Sampark centers, which are akin to the CSCs, would be able to provide services to citizens in an environment which would be internet-enabled self-service kiosks. So probably the citizen, when he enters a CSC or our Sampark center, he would be able to see a kiosk which would have a smart interface, which would adapt to the use of the user, which would adapt to the needs of the user. As an initiative, we started the use of information kiosks in the Chandigarh administration. I would just like to highlight 2 or 3 examples by way of which we utilize various applications using these touchscreen information kiosks. Chandigarh, as we know, again, is a city which is known as City Beautiful. It is a tourist attraction. People do frequent the city, and we felt that information with regard to places to visit and areas to visit in the city was not available other than on the web, as well as on the tourist information centers. So we decided to introduce the concept of our tourist information kiosk, which is a touchscreen kiosk wherein on the push of a button you could in fact get to know what are the places to visit. Any tourist could get to know what are the places to visit in the city, as well as eateries and knowledge about other tourist attractions in and around Chandigarh as well. So one such information kiosk is located in the Puri guest house as well. Another application which was to do with more which had more public utility in this sense, was the application that we designed for the registering and the licensing authority. Chandigarh also happens to have the highest number of vehicles registered per capita in the country. So for any person who owns a good luxurious vehicle, it has been also a desire that he should get a VIP number for that particular vehicle. So getting a VIP number or getting a number of your choice for your particular vehicle, it was always felt that you had to go and stand in queue and to see the list of numbers which were available, which were left after the auction and which were available on payment of a certain price. So we introduced this application on the touchscreen kiosk itself. We brought it on the touchscreen kiosk, that again the person could get to know which numbers were left out of the after the auction, and on the press of the button he could get to know which numbers are available for purchase for his or her own vehicle. So these 2 applications we feel have also cut down on the transaction time. I mean, cut down on the time that it was taking for a person to maybe access the web, or to, and this is also to do with people who probably did not have web access, and to cut the digital divide. They was visiting the offices, standing in queues, waiting for their turn to get to know, to seek a certain information from the government side. Another area of concern or priority has been the housing sector, where in Chandigarh we have a pool of government houses. So allotment of these government houses, again, there is a seniority list which is maintained, there is an availability of houses which is there. So we had a number of people flocking the government offices wanting to know at what seniority their name lies within the list, and what would be the chances of their getting a particular house. So again, using the information kiosk, we provided this information on the kiosk that a person visiting the office, instead of wanting to wait and get to know this information, could simply press a button and click of a button. He could get to know whatever information lays therein. By that, he could get to know whether on what number his seniority lies and what are the houses that are available for that particular person. So what we're trying to say is that this is we've just started this initiative of having these kind of kiosks, wherein we are trying to sensitize the people to increase the uptake of technology in a way, as well as also to provide service delivery at the press of a button. The next step which we would like to undertake would be to upgrade these to payment kiosks, which are being used elsewhere as well, so that these applications can be upgraded and we can have certain payment kiosks. Other than that, we feel that we would also like to go a step further and design kiosks which would be conceptualized in such a way that they would cater to the needs of the citizens themselves. People would be able to service the kiosks as per their own needs and requirements, for which we have included this idea in our IT policy of using analytics to sort of get to know the requirements and needs of the people, which can help us in innovating public service delivery. I would like to also talk here for a moment about the technology acceptance model, which is a well-claimed model given by Fred Davies. He talks of a chasm which exists between the early adopters of any technology and the laggards. So the difference between the early adopters is that they are the pragmatists and they take to a technology. The laggards are the conservative kind of people who do not easily accept any technology. So in order to bridge the chasm or the divide between this, it is important that we take steps to bridge the gap that there lies. So for this, we sort of thought of various things as to what makes a person accept a technology or take up a technology. So the uptake of any technology depends on the perceived usefulness of a technology. Is it perceived to be useful by people? And the perceived ease of use of that technology. So not only does the technology or the solution that we are offering, not only does it have to be useful, but even has to be perceived as useful by the people for them to sort of uptake these kind of technologies. So this is somewhat, I feel, which has to be the guiding principle while we evolve our systems in a way that we provide better service delivery to the citizens. We have also, in a way, to bridge the gap and to sensitize people to take up these applications and to adopt technology. We have started something which is on the lines of the Akshaya program in Kerala, which is called we have launched a program called eSaksham. Now, eSaksham is an initiative of the Chandigarh administration based on the IT policy of Government of India, wherein it is stated that we must endeavour to make one person in every household illiterate. In Chandigarh, we've gone a step further and we have said that our endeavour would be to make 2 people in every household illiterate, and including 1 woman member of every household. So keeping that in mind, we have started free of cost training on Internet and MS Office for the senior citizens, and we have in fact started enrolled the first batch of people for this. So this is just an attempt on our part to sensitize the people how to sort of bring them closer to usage of technology. Another useful trend which one came across is in the public sector, which is the e-wallet launched by IRCTC. Now, e-wallet is a solution wherein it works something like a prepaid mobile on connection, wherein you have a certain credit in your e-wallet account and you can use that credit. It remains in that account and the control does not pass on to a third party or an aggregator. And you can use the credit in your account for booking of your tickets. So this is something, in the morning also there was talk of integration with e-payment gateway and things like that. So this is also something that we are looking at so that we can have something like e-cash or e-wallet for all the government transactions that we are going to be having here, and which can be linked at the back end with the integrator model. It is also sort of important that when we look at the future role of CSCs, that we realize that CSCs of course have to sort of have a built-in sort of mechanism whereby we innovate to cater to the needs of the public. As I mentioned earlier, there is a need to understand what the requirements of the public would be, and for that analytics or data analysis of the kind of people who are frequenting your CSCs or your Sampark centers would be a useful tool. We personally feel that in case a person is visiting the CSC, and if we can fetch data using analytics as to what is the nature of people who are visiting a particular Sampark center, there might be people with special needs who would be most frequent visitors to a particular Sampark center, and we can then cater to their requirements like that. And also, we would also want to sort of record our interactions, record the interactions which people are making and the transactions which they are making, which can be used, the demographic data which is available can be linked to the SRDH base which is already being created through UID enrollment, and we can link it to that so that we already have the demographics of the person, and we can also maintain a record of the transactions of the person or the interactions of the person that we have, which will be a very useful tool in bettering the services that we are offering through the Sampark centers and in further upgrading the services at a later stage. So with this broadly, I feel that of course with the launch of the e-governance mission mode project and with the setting up of eThal, which is the matrix to monitor the transactions that are taking place, we have sort of taken a step forward, but also at the same time understanding the demographics and understanding the needs of the citizens would be important to sort of customize our systems in a way so that they become in sync with the needs of the people. And because as of now, nothing but the best would suffice. So looking at that, I think the way to go would be to also study the demographics and to understand the customer needs so that we can service the people in a better way. So that for me would be the future of CSCs. Thank you.
Thank you very much.